Hey, race the first part of your story, written with intensity, originality, and strong emotional weight. They'll keep the narrative dynamic, unpredictable, and engaging throughout all 10 parts. I always thought betrayal would be something obvious. Some lipstick on a collar, a hidden text message, a slip of the tongue. Something small but undeniable, something that would set off alarm bells. I never expected it to be something that unfolded so slowly, so meticulously, that by the time I realized what was happening, I had already been living in the lie for months. It started with an email. I wasn't even supposed to see it. I was at home, working on some bills, when my wife's laptop pinged with a notification. I had never been the type to snoop, and I wasn't planning to start now. But I was in the kitchen, and the screen was right there. The email preview popped up. Reminder. Payout request received. Your funds will be processed within 3 business days. At first, it didn't even register as suspicious. But then I saw the sender. OnlyFans support. I froze. My brain scrambled for some kind of explanation. Maybe she subscribed to someone? Maybe it was some kind of spam? But something about it felt off. I tapped the trackpad, pulling up her email. It was right there in her inbox, confirmation of a payout. Then another, and another. Thousands of dollars. Regular transactions. This wasn't some random one-time thing. I scrolled further, and that's when I found it. The emails congratulating her on gaining top creator status. The ones confirming private messages sent to special subscribers. My stomach dropped. I clicked one of the messages. The words hit me like a gut punch. I love how naughty you get when you know someone's watching. I felt like I had left my body. This wasn't just some flirty message exchange. She was running an entire business behind my back. And then, like a movie playing in reverse, the last few months started making sense. The sudden gym obsession, the brand new wardrobe, the way she had started turning away from me in bed, always claiming she was too tired, the late nights, the locked phone. It had all been right in front of me. I shut the laptop. My hands were shaking. My heart was hammering so hard it felt like it would split my ribs apart. I needed air. I needed to think. I grabbed my keys and left without a word. That I drove without a destination. My mind a storm of thoughts that refused to settle. The streets blurred past as I replayed every moment, every excuse, every little lie Amanda had fed me. The worst part? I hadn't even suspected her. Not once. The emails had shattered whatever illusions I had left. She wasn't just hiding something. She was living an entirely separate life, one I knew nothing about. And I was the fool financing it, playing the role of the doting husband while she entertained strangers for money. At some point, I pulled into a deserted parking lot behind a 24-hour gas station. The overhead lights buzzed, casting long shadows over the pavement. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. I wanted to scream, to hit something, to erase the image of those messages from my mind. Instead, I pulled out my phone. I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. I wasn't about to confront her just to hear another round of half-truths and deflections. I opened her OnlyFans page. Of course, I didn't have the login, but I knew her email. I clicked Forgot Password. Within seconds, a reset link was sent to her email. The same email I had just been staring at. My hands felt detached from my body as I typed in a new password and hit enter. The screen loaded, and suddenly, I was inside. And that's when I realized how deep the betrayal went. Her profile wasn't just some amateur thing thrown together for quick cash. It was a full-blown operation. Professional photos, a curated bio, dozens, no, hundreds of posts, all with captions I couldn't even bring myself to read. Private messages, requests, people paying for her attention. But the final nail in the coffin was the subscription list. Because there, right at the top, under VIP supporters, was a name I recognized. Ethan Reynolds. My best friend. The world tilted on its axis. My stomach lurched. I scrolled through their messages, my pulse pounding in my ears. It was worse than I imagined. They weren't just casual messages. They were personal. Familiar. Like two people who knew each other. And then I saw it. I can't wait to see you again. Last time was amazing. The words blurred on the screen as my grip tightened around the phone. Last time? Again? This wasn't just an online thing. She had met up with him. In real life. The betrayal burned through me like acid. I had just crossed the threshold from heartbreak to rage. This wasn't just about money. This wasn't just about strangers. This was my wife and my best friend. And they thought I would never find out that I sat there in my car, gripping my phone so tightly it felt like it would shatter. My entire world had just collapsed in the span of minutes. My wife, my best friend, the two people I trusted most were making a complete fool out of me behind my back. The betrayal was so thick I could taste it. It coated my tongue like ash, burned my throat like acid. I wanted to go home and confront her right then, but something inside me stopped. Not yet. Not like this. I needed to see exactly how far this went. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I dug deeper. I clicked on their messages, scrolling back months into their conversation. The texts were disgusting, but it wasn't just about the words. It was the way they spoke to each other, like they were in on some kind of inside joke. Like I was just a background character in their little story. You really had me shaking after last time. I was so sore the next day. I nearly threw my phone. Don't worry, babe. I'll book the hotel again next week. Same place. I can't wait. Hope you're ready for me. And then the picture. A mirror selfie. Her in the same blue lingerie set I once found in the laundry, one she had never worn for me. The caption? Just for you, baby. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth ached. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I wasn't just dealing with some OnlyFans side hustle she had been keeping from me. She had been carrying on a full-blown affair with Ethan for over a year. And I had been so blind. A sick, twisted part of me wondered how long they had been laughing at me. How many times had Ethan shaken my hand, looked me in the eye, and pretended he wasn't sleeping with my wife? How many times had Amanda kissed me goodnight, knowing she was sneaking around behind my back? I felt like a goddamn joke. But I wouldn't be their joke any longer. My rage settled into something cold, calculated. If they wanted to lie to my face, fine. Let them think I was still in the dark. Let them keep believing they were getting away with it. Because I wasn't just going to confront them. I was going to destroy them. I drove home in silence, my mind sharpening like a blade. The rage was still there, burning under my skin, but I wasn't going to let it control me. Not yet. I wanted to see how deep this betrayal ran, how long they thought they could make a fool out of me. Amanda was already in bed when I got home. I stood in the doorway, watching her sleep like she wasn't the biggest liar I had ever met. My chest felt tight, my fists clenched, but I forced myself to relax. She couldn't know what I had found. Not yet. I needed to move smart. So, over the next few days, I played the role of the oblivious husband. I kissed her goodbye in the mornings, acted normal, even joked with her like nothing was wrong. But in the background, I was collecting everything. I went through our shared finances. There it was. A separate bank account, hidden transfers, money coming in from OnlyFans that she never told me about. The expensive gifts she had been buying? Not for me. Not for our daughter. For herself. And for him. I checked our phone records. Late-night calls to Ethan. Sometimes just minutes after she kissed me goodnight and told me she was too tired. Every single time I looked, I found more. And the whole time, Amanda had no idea I knew. Then came the final piece of the puzzle. I had installed a small camera in the living room, hidden in a bookshelf. I told myself it was for security. In reality, I needed proof of her lies in real time. And it paid off. One afternoon, while I was at work, Amanda came home early. Not long after Ethan showed up, I watched it all unfold from my phone. He walked in like he owned the place, like my house was his. He sat on my couch, stretched his legs out, made himself comfortable. And Amanda? She laughed, curled up next to him, whispered something in his ear that made him smirk. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to stay calm. Let them dig their own graves. Then she pulled out her phone and opened OnlyFans right in front of him. I watched as she took a picture, adjusted her hair, and typed out some flirty caption for her subscribers while sitting next to my best friend. Like this was just their normal. Like I didn't exist. I had seen enough. I locked my phone, exhaled slowly, and made my decision. This wasn't just going to be a confrontation. This was going to be war. I spent the next 3 days preparing. Every time I looked at Amanda, every time she kissed me goodbye or sent me some half-hearted text about dinner, I felt the weight of her lies pressing down on my chest like a boulder. But I didn't let it show. If she wanted to play games, I would play better. She had no idea I had already spoken to a lawyer. No idea I had already started pulling every financial record, every chat log, every disgusting little message she had exchanged with Ethan. She had no idea I had already secured proof of her double life. Not just the OnlyFans account, but the affair itself. Video evidence, timestamps, bank transfers, everything. She had no idea her entire life was about to burn to the ground. I had considered confronting them the second I saw Ethan walk into my house. But no, that would have been too easy, too quick. They deserved worse. So I waited. And then, as if the universe itself wanted to hand me the perfect opportunity, Amanda walked right into her own downfall. It started with a casual lie, one of those little throwaway excuses that had become second nature to her. "Hey, babe," she said one evening, leaning against the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone. "I'm going to a girls' night this Friday, probably staying at Jessica's." Jessica, one of her oldest friends. One who, conveniently, lived just far enough away to make an overnight stay seem reasonable. I kept my face neutral. "Yeah, that sounds nice. Tell her I said hi." Amanda smiled, completely unaware that I already knew exactly what her plans really were. Because she wasn't going to Jessica's. She was meeting Ethan. I had proof. Their messages spelled it out clear as day. They had booked a hotel downtown, the same one they had met at before. She had even sent him a picture of what she planned to wear. A short, red dress, one I had never seen her in. I played dumb, let her think she had pulled off another easy lie. And then I set my own plan in motion. That Friday, I watched as she got ready, humming to herself in the mirror, straightening her hair, perfecting her makeup. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. An afterthought, really? Before grabbing her bag and heading out the door. The second she left, I moved. I had already called Ethan's wife. Yeah, that's right. Ethan was married. She had been just as blind as I was, just as betrayed. But when I showed her the proof, our spouses' messages, the bank statements, the hotel receipts, her shock turned into pure fury. And tonight, we were both going to make sure they paid. She met me outside the hotel, her hands shaking, her face a mask of cold rage. "They don't know we're coming?" she asked, her voice tight. I shook my head. "They think they got away with it." We walked in together, straight to the front desk. The clerk barely glanced at us as we asked for a key. Amanda had used our joint credit card for the booking. Dumb move. So I had all the details I needed. The elevator ride-up felt endless. My pulse pounded in my ears. And then finally we stood outside the door. The room where my wife and my so-called best friend thought they were safe. I took a deep breath, looked at Ethan's wife, and knocked. The seconds stretched into eternity. I could hear movement inside the hotel room, soft footsteps, the rustling of fabric. A faint laugh. Then silence. I knocked again, harder this time. More movement. A pause. Then Amanda's voice, muffled through the door. "Hang on just a sec." I could hear the casual confidence in her tone, the complete lack of hesitation. She wasn't expecting anyone but room service. She had no idea she was about to open the door to her worst nightmare. The lock clicked. The handle turned. And then there she was. Amanda stood in the doorway wearing that red dress, her hair slightly tousled, her lipstick fresh. The second she saw me, her entire body froze. Behind her, Ethan was sitting on the bed, shirt unbuttoned, a drink in his hand. His relaxed posture turned rigid the moment he saw who was standing there. I didn't move, didn't speak, just let the silence crush the air out of the room. Amanda blinked, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for breath. Then, in the most insulting display of denial I had ever seen, she tried to smile. "Babe, what are you?" And then Ethan's wife stepped forward, pushing past me. Amanda's face drained of color. Ethan muttered, "Oh, F***. I let the door swing open all the way, stepping inside with slow, deliberate steps. Amanda backed away from me like a trapped animal. I turned my head, taking in the room, the rumpled bedsheets, the 2 wine glasses on the nightstand, her wedding ring, the one I bought her, placed neatly next to them. She had taken it off before meeting him. That detail hit me harder than anything. Ethan shot up from the bed. "Listen, man, this isn't." I let out a breath and shook my head. "Don't. Just don't." His wife didn't give him the luxury of staying silent. She was trembling with rage. "You disgusting, lying piece of trash." She stepped closer, her voice rising with every word. "How long? How long have you been sneaking around behind my back, behind his back, behind our children's backs?" Amanda's head snapped toward Ethan. "You told her." "Oh, so now she was worried about exposure?" now that her fantasy world was crumbling around her? Ethan stammered, I didn't. I let out a dry, humorless laugh. No, Amanda, I told her. Just like I know about your little side business. Amanda's eyes darted to me so fast I could almost hear her brain breaking. What, OnlyFans? I said, tilting my head. Top creator, huh? The room went dead silent. Amanda's breath hitched. She knew. She knew there was no talking her way out of this. I pulled out my phone and, without breaking eye contact, tapped a few buttons. A second later, her phone pinged. Amanda's hands trembled as she reached for it. She looked down at the screen, and then the blood drained from her face. I had just wiped our shared bank account. Every last dollar she had funneled into her secret side hustle, gone. She looked back up at me, and for the first time that night, I saw real fear in her eyes. I already filed for divorce, I said quietly. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. Amanda lurched forward, grabbing my arm. Wait. Just let me explain. I yanked my arm free, disgust curling in my chest. Explain. I laughed, shaking my head. What, Amanda? Explain how you've been sneaking behind my back for a year? Explain how you've been using our house, our money, our marriage as some cheap cover for this disgusting circus act. Her lip trembled, tears welled in her eyes, and I felt nothing. Ethan's wife turned to her husband, her voice like venom. You're done. Don't come home. Amanda whirled back to me, panic setting in. Please, she whispered. Please don't leave me like this. I took one last look at the wreckage of what used to be my marriage. The betrayal, the pathetic excuses, the desperation in her face now that she had finally lost control. And I walked out without another word. I stepped out of that hotel room and into the hallway, leaving behind the wreckage of my marriage, the shattered illusion of trust, and the pathetic, stammering excuses Amanda was already starting to throw at my back. The door swung shut behind me with a dull click, and the moment it did, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. Not peace, not yet. There was still so much to handle, so much to untangle. The divorce was only just beginning, the fallout from this disaster still waiting to explode in full force. But I had done what I came here to do. I had seen the truth with my own eyes. I had confronted them on my terms, not in some messy, screaming fit, but with cold, calculated precision. And now I would take everything from her, just like she had tried to take from me. I didn't bother looking back as I made my way down the hotel hallway, past the couple making their way toward their own room, past the concierge desk where the poor bastard behind the counter had probably seen too many nights like this. I didn't look back when I stepped outside into the cold night air, taking my first deep breath since I had walked into that room. But as I reached my car, my phone buzzed. Amanda. I stared at the screen for a second before swiping to reject the call. Not even 5 seconds later, another message came through. Amanda, please. I need to talk to you. I ignored it. I got in my car, pulled out of the parking lot, and drove straight home. When I stepped inside, the house felt different. Not physically, nothing had changed. The furniture was in the same place, the framed wedding photos still hung on the walls, the scent of Amanda's perfume still faintly lingered in the air. But it wasn't home anymore. It was a crime scene, a place where I had been lied to, used. I walked straight into the bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag, and started packing. Clothes, essentials, anything I needed for the next few weeks. I wasn't going to sleep in the same bed Amanda had shared with me while sneaking around with Ethan. I wasn't going to pretend, not even for a second, that this house still held anything worth salvaging. By the time I zipped up my bag, my phone had 6 more missed calls. And then one final message. Amanda, I'm coming home. Please don't do this. I exhaled slowly. My grip on the phone tightened. I could have left before she got back. I could have disappeared for the night, let her stew in the wreckage, let her realize that everything she had built, her fake little fantasy life, her secret double existence, was over. But then I thought back to the way she had looked at me in that hotel room. The way her mouth had opened, then closed, like she was shocked to see me there. Like she hadn't once considered that I was smart enough to catch her. And suddenly, I wanted to be here when she walked through that door. I wanted her to see me standing there, ready. So I sat down in the living room, duffel bag at my feet, arms crossed, phone silent, and I waited. The front door unlocked at exactly 1:17 a.m. I heard it before I saw her, the quiet creak of the hinges, the hesitant shuffle of her feet as she stepped inside. She must have been expecting the house to be dark, silent, empty. Maybe she thought I had left, driven off into the night with no intention of returning. Maybe she even hoped she'd have time to come up with some pathetic excuse before facing me. But when she stepped into the dim glow of the living room and saw me sitting there, waiting, her entire body froze. I didn't say a word. She stood in the doorway for a second too long, her hand still gripping the doorknob. Her face was flushed, hair slightly messy from the ride back, lips pressed together so tightly I could see the tension in her jaw. Guilt. Not the kind of guilt that comes from remorse. No. Amanda wasn't sorry about what she had done. She was sorry she had gotten caught. She finally let go of the door and took a shaky step forward. I held up a hand. Don't. That single word stopped her in her tracks. For a second, she just stood there, looking at me like she didn't recognize the man in front of her. Maybe she didn't, because the man she had been lying to, sneaking around on, humiliating behind his back, that man was dead. I stood up slowly, exhaling through my nose, forcing my voice to stay calm when all I wanted to do was unleash everything. I saw you, I said, each word slow, deliberate. At the hotel. With Ethan. Her lips parted. A slight inhale, like she was about to deny it, like she still thought she could lie her way out of this. I tilted my head, my expression cold. You do not get to insult my intelligence. Not tonight. She swallowed hard. Stop. She flinched at the sharpness in my voice. I took a step closer, watching her like a predator watching prey. How long? Amanda opened her mouth, then hesitated. Her fingers twitched at her sides like she was trying to decide whether to lie again. My patience snapped. How long, Amanda? Her breath hitched. Then, finally, she whispered, a year. My hands curled into fists at my sides. I had already known, but hearing it out loud, watching the words leave her mouth, it made the rage in my chest erupt all over again. A whole year. 365 days of her lying, smiling in my face, pretending to be my wife while sneaking off to be with him. 365 days of her looking me in the eye and choosing someone else. I let out a bitter laugh. Wow. A whole year. And what? You thought I'd never find out? Thought I was too stupid to notice? Her face crumpled. I never wanted to hurt you. I barked out another laugh, sharp and humorless. You never wanted to hurt me? Amanda, you humiliated me. You built a whole damn career behind my back, sleeping with other men for money, and when that wasn't enough, you went behind my back with my own best friend. And now you want to stand here and say you never wanted to hurt me. Tears welled in her eyes. I made mistakes, okay? I was confused. No, I cut her off, shaking my head. You don't get to call it a mistake. A mistake is one bad decision. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or missing a phone call. This was deliberate. Every day for a year, you chose to lie. You chose to betray me. Her shoulders started shaking. I thought her voice cracked. I thought I could fix it before it got out of hand. I let out a breath through my nose, closing my eyes for a second. Then I turned, grabbed my duffel bag off the couch, and slung it over my shoulder. Amanda's face fell. Where are you going? I stared at her for a long moment before answering. Somewhere that isn't poisoned by you. She took a shaky step forward. Please, just wait. Can we talk about this? I stepped past her toward the front door. Don't follow me, Amanda. Please. Her voice cracked, desperate now. I know I messed up, but I still love you. I froze. And then slowly, I turned back. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman who had been my wife. The woman I had built a life with. The woman who had ripped it all apart with her own 2 hands. I stepped closer. Just enough for her to hear my next words clearly. No, Amanda. My voice was quiet, lethal. You don't love me. You just love that I loved you. Her breath hitched. She opened her mouth, then closed it, speechless. I didn't give her the chance to find her words. I turned away, walked out the door, and this time, I didn't look back. I drove through the city with no real destination, just the weight of the last 12 months pressing down on me. The streetlights blurred as I passed, neon signs reflecting off the windshield. My phone was face down in the passenger seat, buzzing every few minutes with more missed calls and texts from Amanda. I didn't need to check them to know what they said. Please, let's talk. You don't have to leave. I made a mistake, but I still love you. Lie after lie after lie. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. She was sorry I was finally done playing the fool. I pulled into a small motel just outside of town. Somewhere quiet. The kind of place where people go to disappear for a night. The guy at the front desk barely looked at me as he handed over the key, mumbling something about checkout times. I climbed the stairs, stepped inside, and locked the door behind me. And then, finally, I let myself breathe. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring down at my hands. The rage was still there, simmering beneath my skin. But now that I was alone, something else crept in. The grief. I had spent the last week planning my revenge, setting everything up, watching Amanda dig her own grave. I had been so consumed by my anger that I hadn't let myself feel what I had really lost. I had loved her. For 6 years, she had been my world. The person I came home to, the person I thought had my back, the mother of my child. And the entire time, she had been lying to me with a smile on her face. I exhaled sharply and ran a hand down my face. I couldn't let myself sink into that hole. Not yet. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my messages until I found the one person I actually needed to talk to. My lawyer. I had already started the process before confronting Amanda, but now it was time to finish it. I typed out a message. "Me, let's move forward. I don't want anything delayed." I stared at the screen for a second before sending it. Then, as an afterthought, I opened my bank app. I had transferred the money out of our joint account earlier, but now that I was officially done, I took the final step. I closed it completely. One more tie severed. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Amanda. "Amanda, I can't believe you're doing this. After everything we've been through?" I let out a short, humorless laugh. After everything we've been through? Like it was some accident. Like she had tripped and landed in Ethan's bed. Like she hadn't spent an entire year choosing to betray me over and over again. I typed back one final message. "Me, you chose this. Live with it." And then I blocked her number. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No buzzing phone, no messages, no fake apologies trying to reel me back in. Just the dull hum of the motel's AC unit and the weight of everything that had happened settling into my bones. For the first time in days, I didn't feel like I was on the edge of an explosion. I took my time leaving the motel, stopping for coffee at a gas station down the road. The caffeine did nothing to cut through the exhaustion, but it didn't matter. I had work to do. By noon, I was sitting across from my lawyer, finalizing everything. She skimmed through the paperwork, nodding to herself before looking up at me. "Once Amanda is served, she'll have 30 days to respond. Given the evidence we have, this should move pretty quickly." I nodded. "Good." She hesitated, flipping through a few more pages before speaking again. "Are you sure you don't want to pursue more?" The financial deception alone, her hiding the OnlyFans income, funneling money out of your shared assets, that gives us a lot of leverage. We could go after more in the settlement. I thought about it for a long moment. I thought about the way she had smiled at me, all while sleeping with my best friend behind my back. I thought about the way she had taken off her wedding ring before meeting him in that hotel room. I thought about the sheer entitlement in her messages, the way she had convinced herself that she deserved to have her cake and eat it too, that I would never catch on. I had every right to ruin her. But in the end, I realized I didn't need to. She had done it to herself. "I just want out," I said finally. "Fast and clean." My lawyer nodded, making a few notes. "Understood." I left the office feeling lighter than I had in months. Amanda wanted to turn our marriage into a performance for strangers online. She could have it. She wanted to live in a fantasy where she could betray me and still keep me in her life. That was over. By the time she was served with the divorce papers that evening, I was already moving into my new place. A small apartment, nothing special, but it was mine. Mine. No ghosts of betrayal lurking in the walls, no reminders of the life I thought I had. That should have been the end of it. But Amanda? She wasn't done losing. 1 month later, the first sign that she had finally hit the wall came in the form of a voicemail. I had kept her blocked everywhere, but for whatever reason, she had called from an unknown number. I shouldn't have listened. I knew it would be more of the same. But curiosity won. I put the phone to my ear and pressed play. At first, all I could hear was sniffling. Then her voice, shaky, small, nothing like the woman who had confidently walked into that hotel room thinking she had gotten away with everything. "I messed up," she whispered. "I know I messed up." I leaned back in my chair, listening as she sucked in a breath. "I should have never done this to you, to us." Another pause. Quiet sob. I thought I could handle it, but I can't. I lost everything. The money is gone. The followers are gone. And Ethan, he left. He said I wasn't worth the risk. I closed my eyes, exhaling through my nose. Of course he did. Of course Ethan had bailed the second things got hard. The second the fantasy fell apart and real consequences came crashing in. Amanda's voice broke again. "I don't have anyone. I don't know what to do." Then, the final blow, the words she must have thought would undo everything. "Can we talk?" I stared at the wall, letting the silence stretch. Then, without a second thought, I deleted the voicemail. She made her choices. Now, she could live with them,